November the 17th dawned cold and foggy. 2 days previously, thick fog had stopped most of the traffic, but somehow we at Fort Dunlop felt that it just had to be fine, for this was to be our day. There were plenty of policemen about, and one traffic island had been moved so that the royal party would not be trapped by our one-way traffic system. The royal train pulled into New Street Station right on time, and the Duke of Edinburgh was welcomed by the Lord Lieutenant of Warwickshire, the Lord Mayor of Birmingham, and other civic dignitaries. Before entering the Lord Mayor's car, the Duke paused to chat, so that onlookers and photographers who had been waiting in the station approaches would be rewarded. As the procession moved off, the sun began to break through, and city-goers and schoolchildren were able to get a good view and a cheery wave from the Duke. Once the procession had passed, it was back to work or back to school for the youngsters. At the fort, friends had been gathering since early morning. A telephone call from town told us he's on his way, and we left offices, workshops, canteens and surgeries, and together with members of the main board, we stood and waited. We placed a lookout on the roof to give us the signal when the royal party was approaching. Precisely on time, and to the cheers of the crowd lining the road outside, the Duke passed through the blue and gold welcoming arch at Central Gate and stepped from the Mayor's car outside the council chamber. Lord Baillieu, our chairman, welcomed the royal guest and presented Mr. George B. Harrell, the managing director, Mr. Collett, and other members of the board, while the girls from commercial offices turned on their warmest smiles and cheered. The party then moved into the council chamber, where the Duke spent 3/4 of an hour inspecting the exhibition of a large variety of the company's products. In the meantime, relations and friends had lined the route to the research centre, where the staff had left their laboratories and lined the forecourt. The building itself was gaily decorated with flags. Commissioner Moore warned our cameramen that the royal car was approaching, and as cameras clicked and scientists in unusually clean white coats cheered, the Duke arrived. The chairman presented Mr. King, the technical director, and Mr. Murphy, the manager of General Development Division. Mr. King then explained a route map of the tour to His Royal Highness before passing on to General Development Division, where Mr. Jenkins described the display of special purpose rubbers. Mr. Powell was presented in Physical Research Division, where a display had been arranged to show the part played by the tyres in the control of vehicles. The Duke is a keen motorist and aviator, and took a great interest in the model car chassis demonstration, which shows the path taken by the wheels and the forces developed on the tyres when a vehicle is cornered. A model aircraft also claimed his attention, this model being used to demonstrate the problems of steering in tricycle undercarriages. As time was limited, only scale models of some of the larger experimental rigs and testing apparatus were on show. In the second laboratory, Ray Chittleborough and Jeff Morton explained the manometer, a device which is used to measure the internal bore dimension of rubber tubes. The Duke had several questions for Harry Wainwright when he demonstrated the tread distortion tester, which is used on cycle covers. The final exhibit in this laboratory was the prototype model of the ultrasonic tyre tester. These fault-finding machines are already in service in our organization. Mr. Goy was presented in Textile Division, where a display showing the sources and types of fibres used in our products had been arranged. A self-recording apparatus for measuring forces in nylon and terylene when heated was also displayed. In Compounding Research Division, Dr. Parkinson was presented. He gave a short talk on the way in which carbon black reinforces rubber and increases the wear resistance of tyre treads. The abrasion machine was next, and for Jeanette Pinchin, the young operator, this must have been a very proud moment. There were others who were not amused. The chemical research display was arranged in the analytical laboratory, where Dr. Davy explained our methods of determining the mechanical stability of latex and other physico-chemical methods of analysis. The ultraviolet spectrometer and the Dean and Stark apparatus, which is used in the determination of moisture content, both caught the Duke's eye. And he showed a great interest in the colour photographs of our radiochemical equipment. The royal party next made its way by car to the pilot plant. This building contains a small synthetic rubber plant and much equipment for testing out new ideas on a semi-production basis. Before entering the building, all members of the party were asked to leave their lighters in the care of the fireman. The Duke, being a non-smoker, was rather amused by this precaution. Jock Mitchell was presented to His Royal Highness in the synthetic rubber plant, and he explained a display of general-purpose synthetic rubber for tyres and oil-resistant and low-temperature synthetics for special purposes. He really emphasized this point. It was now time for lunch, and the procession moved off. In the meantime, the research staff were eagerly lining the route and waiting to cheer the parting guest on his way to the Dunlop Hall, where he was to take lunch with 65 long-service employees who had been chosen by ballot from factories throughout the United Kingdom. After lunch, the Duke posed for photographs before starting his afternoon tour. It was as the Duke began his tour of the factory, and while the crowds went back to work, that the gentlemen of the press got the best story of the day. The Duke had recognized ex-Chief Petty Officer Lloyd as an old shipmate, and had inquired about his wife and family. By this time, the Duke had reached one of the cover building departments, and, accompanied by Mr. Bowyer, was firing technical and personal questions at Arnold Ward, one of our skilled cover builders. The bagomatic machines used in our automatic cover curing process were demonstrated by Leonard Seeney, under the watchful eye of the lads. Outside the curing shop, a crowd had formed to cheer the party as it made its way across the West Road to the machine tool division. At this point, the Duke was obviously enjoying his visit, and his conversation seemed to amuse Mr. Quinton. The boys outnumbered the girls on this part of the route, but what they lacked in numbers, they made up for with their charming smiles. In the machine shop, the Duke inspected a display of mould parts. The party at this stage of the tour had grown quite considerably and contained many well-known Dunlop personalities. The slotting machine attracted the Duke's attention, and John Measy explained how it worked and what it did. Lord Baillieu had a practical demonstration of how it worked from Mr. Cogswell. The rifle team trophy did not go unnoticed, and Donald Elliot, who was scraping a tyre mould, came in for a thorough quizzing from our royal visitor, who certainly has a keen eye and took a lively interest in the exact mechanical details. Along the West Road, lined by applauding crowds, and into the giant tractor tyre shop, where Mr. Brotherton outlined the cover building process. The Duke visited many other departments on his tour, and wherever he went, was received with great respect and affection. All too soon, it seemed, the tour was over, and the Duke departed, leaving us with many happy memories of this, our royal visit.